It's Memorial Day 2021, a day to reflect on those who gave all and never made it home to enjoy the freedoms they helped to protect and defend after their tour of duty. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the Blanco Lirio channel and a quick field report update on what happened with the early model Cessna Citation crash last Saturday morning out of New Smyrna Airport, Tennessee, that took the lives of 7 people on board that aircraft. Let's go inside and take a look at the data that we have so far. Please excuse the setup for this report. We're out in the field. I got to use a cell phone and an iPad. Let's first go to Victor at Vasaviation, and then we'll follow up with some ADSB data. First, let's go over to Victor at Vasaviation. Please support his channel. He uses real ATC communications and ADSB Exchange to put these together very, very quickly.
Citation 66 Bravo Kilo, short of 22 at Fox, ready to go. Citation 66 Bravo Kilo, 24 after departure, turn right, heading 090, maintain 3000, runway 32, clear for takeoff, caution lower right, runway, departure in. Okay, we're clear for 32, and we're going 090 at or above 3000 for 66 Bravo Kilo. Maintain 3000. And we'll maintain 3000 for 66 Bravo Kilo.
Okay, stop the tape. Right away we have non-standard and kind of unprofessional communication from the pilot of the Citation jet. Right away, ATC had to correct him. You are not cleared at or above 3,000 feet. You're cleared to 3,000 feet. The thing at the end of the runway they're talking about is a mower, not a factor. Departing runway 32 to the north. Switching to Nashville, not going to Nashville.
66 Bravo Kilo, departure on frequency. 66 Bravo Kilo with you. 66 Bravo Kilo, say altitude, your radar contact 3 north at Smyrna, flighting of 130. 6 Bravo Kilo, did you copy your heading 130? 130, 66 Bravo Kilo.
Okay, stop the tape. Lots going on there. First off, the ATC had to contact the pilot. Normally, the pilot contacts ATC. That's the first indication that this pilot is getting very behind the aircraft. Second, the last communication that you hear from the pilot of the Citation sounds to me like a very stressed pilot, overwhelmed, flying well behind the aircraft. Third, the weep, 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 weep sound that you hear, that's not a warning system as was erroneously reported by the mainstream media. That is the sound of the continuous ignition igniters on the early model Citation. When you enter the weather in these jets, you want to turn continuous ignition on with 2 switches, and that's nothing more than the same as the igniter for your barbecue. When you push the button and it snaps a spark to light your barbecue. In the case of these jets, that is done continuously to keep the jets running while entering areas of heavy precipitation. That's a lot of RF radio frequency noise, and it bleeds through the intercom system on board the aircraft. Now, that was the last ATC communication from the pilot of the Cessna Citation, and when we review the ADSB data, we'll probably find out why that was the last communication. Let's roll the rest of the tape.
6 Bravo Kilo, call maintain 15,000, 15,000. 66 Bravo Kilo, departure out of here. Citation 66 Bravo Kilo, departure out of here. Citation 66 Bravo Kilo, out of here. Sherway's 1947 National Departure radar contact, call maintain 15,000. I maintain 15,000, Spirit 1947. 66 Bravo Kilo out of here. 66 Bravo Kilo departure. 0 Juliet Alpha, off your right wing, 3 miles. I'm just lost communication with the Citation at part of Smyrna. Do you see anything there, maybe 2 o'clock and 4 miles?
I know, sir. I don't see a thing, and I'm halfway in the clouds.
0 Juliet Alpha, Roger. Set to maintain 4,000. Let me know when you get out.
Down to 4,000, 0 Juliet Alpha.
Blue Raider 71, you're on radar contact about 4 east of Murfreesboro, National altimeter 3003.
3003, Blue Raider 71.
Sherwin's 1947, turn right.
That other pilot report verifies that, yes, they were probably, or most certainly, IMC or in the clouds. Remember, the weather was 1,000 foot overcast. So this pilot took off, had a turn to the right, and then another turn to the right, making basically a 180-degree turn in the weather, IMC. Now let's look at the ADSB data from ADSB Exchange. We got the time at the bottom. We've got the ground speed in the upper left corner and the altitude, I believe, MSL in the upper right corner. Departing New Smyrna Airport, runway 32, 106 knots, 400 feet. Starts his straight climb out, 1,100 feet, 1,300 feet, 1,600 feet. Right about here, he's entering in the weather and is initiating his right turn to 090 degrees initially, and then was asked to turn around to 130 degrees. So that's a lot of stuff going on for a single pilot IFR operation to be doing this turn in the weather, especially if you're not current and qualified in instrument flying. 199 knots, 200 knots, 207 knots, still climbing. He makes it up to 2,800 feet. Remember, his clearance is to 3,000 feet. 226 knots, all looking pretty good right up into here. 259 knots. Remember, the speed limit is 250 knots indicated airspeed below 10,000 feet, and this is ground speed, so sometimes you'll see a little difference in those speeds, but here we are at descending all of a sudden, 2,600 feet, 2,000 feet, 293 knots. Remember, the VNE on these early model Citation jets is very low on the indicated airspeed, and now we have a ground speed of 293 knots. Now, there could be winds involved with this, but now we've got a ping of 305 knots at 1,800 feet. The pilot is clearly losing control of the aircraft at this time. He's exceeding VNE, the never exceed speed of the aircraft. 290 knots and 2,100 feet, a little bit of a climb. 273 knots, 2,500 feet, 269 knots, 2,900 feet, and then it begins descending back down. So what we don't know is, did this pilot exceed VNE and break this aircraft apart somewhere back in here or somewhere down in here? We don't know yet until they find all 4 corners of the aircraft. What I mean by that is the 2 wingtips and the nose and the tail in this wreckage area. And are they able to determine, did this airplane come apart in the air or upon impact? This is a classic situation for spatial disorientation, entering IMC immediately after takeoff and initiating a turn while in the weather, especially if you're not very proficient or have a lot of experience with instrument flying. And the NTSB will be looking very closely at the currency and qualification of these pilots on board this aircraft. Climbing and turning in the weather and accelerating leads to a couple of spatial disorientation illusions. One is the somatographic illusion. As you accelerate and you're climbing, it feels like in your inner ear you're really tipping the nose up, so the natural human reaction is to push the nose over. If you're turning in the weather, you establish a 1G rate of turn. By the way, see previous updates for a better explanation on this channel. You're established in a 1G turn. When you roll your wings level, it feels like you're rolling to the left, and so you instead tend to bank even harder to the right. The turning illusion of spatial disorientation. So all that adds up to a very strong sense of not being in control of the aircraft if you do not trust your instruments. The best way to solve this is to A, be current and proficient in instrument flying, or B, have a second proficient and current pilot flying with you that can help you sort out your case of the leans, as they call it, or spatial disorientation. Or 3, turn on the autopilot. If you are proficient in the use of your autopilot, use the autopilot to help sort things out while you sort out your spatial disorientation. Very, very common cause of accidents of this nature. So it'll take the NTSB at least 2 years to issue a final report on this accident. Again, because they got to go through the laborious details, same of every accident. First, they got to find all 4 corners of the aircraft, determine if the aircraft came apart in flight, and based on those initial reports of a debris field being a half mile spread apart, it indicates that very well may be the case. They need to find the engines, tear into the engines, make sure there was nothing wrong with them. Unfortunately, because of the lack of data, there's probably no cockpit voice recorder, which would help greatly in this situation. And there's probably no engine monitoring data on board this aircraft that could help them. So they're going to have to forensically comb through the wreckage to determine if the aircraft was sound, airworthy, there was nothing wrong with the flight control system and or the engines to prevent this aircraft from flying. I hope this gives you a better understanding of what happened to the Citation out of New Smyrna Airport in Tennessee. Thanks so much for your support of this channel, and especially those over on Patreon that make this content possible, as it is often demonetized by YouTube. See you here.